Well, darling, you do look stunning. You look divine, darling.
Oh, Ethel, what is all this?
And during that time, I consider the years I spent on I Love Lucy to be perhaps the biggest rip-off of my career.
Vivian Vance, the woman who would one day make millions laugh as Ethel Mertz on I Love Lucy, did not begin her life in joy or freedom. She was born Vivian Roberta Jones on July 26, 1909, in Cherryvale, Kansas. Her family lived under strict Methodist values, and her mother strongly disapproved of acting. In fact, her mother warned that becoming a performer was sinful and could even send her daughter to hell. This belief created a painful conflict for young Vivian. She had a natural love for entertaining, singing, and making people smile, but every time she showed her talent, it was quickly dismissed as shameful. Being the second of 6 children, Vivian often felt like an outsider in her own home. She was different, and her passion for performance clashed with the rules of her family. As a result, her spirit was repeatedly suppressed, but she never completely gave up. When her family moved to Independence, Kansas, she started sneaking out to chase her dream, performing at school and finding encouragement from a drama teacher named Anna Engelman. Slowly, she began to break away from her family's restrictions. She changed her name to Vivian Vance, inspired by a folklorist named Vance Randolph, and symbolically cut ties with her old life. For her, this was not just a new name but a new identity. She was no longer tied down by her mother's beliefs or her family's disapproval. Instead, she was now free to follow her passion fully. At the age of 21, Vivian took her first big step by joining the Albuquerque Little Theater. This small community theater gave her a stage to perform and to be noticed. She played very different roles, from seductive women to gentle nuns, and her talent impressed audiences so much that people began referring to the building as the Vivian Vance Playhouse. The community supported her and even raised money to send her to New York to study acting. With only $50 and determination, Vivian set out to chase her dream. Life in New York was not easy. She worked as a waitress during the day and auditioned at night, often skipping meals to save money. But her hard work paid off when she earned a chorus role in the Broadway musical Music in the Air in 1932, which ran for 2 years. Slowly, she began earning recognition. By 1937, she replaced an actress in Hooray for What? And performed over 200 shows. Her biggest stage break came in 1941 with Let's Face It, which starred Danny Kaye and Eve Arden. The show ran for 547 performances and proved that Vivian was a rising star. Yet, her personal life did not mirror her professional success. She married Joseph Dainek Jr. at a young age, but the marriage ended quickly. Later, she married actor Philip Ober, but that relationship was even worse. Ober was abusive, jealous of her success, and physically violent. Vivian endured both personal heartbreak and the pressure of maintaining her growing career. In 1945, the stress led to a breakdown, and she admitted, "Let's face it, I cracked up." Therapy helped her heal, but the scars stayed with her. After recovering, Vivian tried her hand at films. She appeared in The Secret Fury 1950 and The Blue Veil 1951. But neither gave her the recognition she wanted. She even turned down certain roles that could have made her a bigger star, preferring to stick to what felt right rather than compromise. Just when it seemed her career might stall, television changed everything. In 1951, at the age of 42, she was chosen to play Ethel Mertz in I Love Lucy. At first, Lucille Ball was not pleased with her casting. Lucy felt Vivian was too young, too pretty, and too similar to her in appearance. To solve this, producers dressed Vivian in less flattering clothes and styled her to look older and plainer. From the beginning, her on-screen marriage was also rocky. When she first met William Frawley, the actor cast as her husband Fred Mertz, she reportedly joked that he looked old enough to be her grandfather. Frawley never forgave her for that remark, and their working relationship was filled with tension. However, this dislike strangely translated into believable chemistry on screen. Vivian's performance as Ethel quickly won over audiences, and Together with Lucy, she became part of one of the most beloved duos in television history. Still, the myth that she signed a contract to gain weight so Lucy would look slimmer haunted her. In reality, no such contract existed. Lucy had once joked about it at a party, but somehow the rumor stuck, and people believed it for decades. For Vivian, this was frustrating, because she was always dieting and struggling with her image. Despite the challenges, ILoveLucy made Vivian a household name. In 1953, she won the very first Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress, making history as the category had been created just for her role. She went on to receive more nominations in the following years, solidifying her place in television. However, while the public adored her, Vivian felt trapped. She had once been a glamorous Broadway star with singing abilities strong enough for opera, but now the world only saw her as the frumpy neighbor. Even when she showed her singing talent in certain episodes, her co-star William Frawley mocked her. Behind the laughter, Vivian's personal struggles continued. Her marriage to Oba grew more violent, and on at least one occasion, she appeared on set with a black eye. Lucille Ball reportedly told her, "If you don't divorce him, I will for you." The abuse, the typecasting, and the pressure of fame all weighed heavily on Vivian. Even her success came with strings attached. Her salary started at $280 a week, the same as Frawley, but by season 6, she was earning $7,500 a week thanks to her strong negotiations. While this was impressive for a woman in the 1950s, it also drew criticism and envy from within the industry. Fame also brought unwanted attention. Fans wrote thousands of letters, and some even followed her in public, forcing her to hire protection. To the outside world, she was living a dream life, but inside, she battled anxiety, depression, and constant fear. Vivian's working relationship with William Frawley only grew worse over time. He was more than 2 decades older, an alcoholic, and often arrived at work drunk. Their hatred became so strong that when CBS suggested a spin-off show featuring Fred and Ethel, Frawley agreed, but Vivian flatly refused. She simply did not want to spend any more time working with him. Their feud became legendary in Hollywood, and when Frawley died in 1966, Vivian reportedly raised a glass of champagne to celebrate. She never attended his funeral or spoke kindly about him afterward. Her relationship with Lucille Ball was more complicated. They often clashed behind the scenes, but they also shared a bond built on comedic chemistry. Lucy pushed Vivian hard, sometimes making her feel second best, but she also supported her during difficult times. After years on The Lucy Show, Vivian eventually decided to leave in 1965. Tired of the pressure and wanting space for herself, walking away from such a secure job was a bold decision, but it showed that Vivian valued her peace of mind over fame. Unfortunately, her attempts to return to Broadway were not successful. When she tried to star in Woody Allen's Don't Drink the Water in 1966, she was let go before the official opening, a public humiliation that cut deeply. Once again, she was reminded of how tightly the role of Ethel had defined her career, leaving her little room to grow beyond it. By the 1970s, Vivian shifted away from chasing major acting roles, and instead became known for appearing in Maxwell House coffee commercials, playing a cheerful character named Maxine. While it was steady work, it was a far cry from the Broadway and television success she once enjoyed. In 1977, she reunited with Lucille Ball for the CBS special Lucy Calls the President. On screen, they still had their old chemistry, but off-screen, Vivian was hiding serious health problems. She had suffered a stroke during filming, and soon after, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Vivian fought bravely, undergoing surgery and chemotherapy, but the disease eventually spread to her bones. Despite her pain, she rarely showed it in public. Her friends later recalled that she kept her dignity until the very end, never asking for pity. In her private life, she faced even more sorrow. She had always longed for children, but suffered a miscarriage and was never able to have a family of her own. Instead, she poured her care into mentoring younger actresses and supporting mental health causes. She knew what it felt like to be broken, and wanted to make sure others felt less alone. Toward the end of her life, Lucille Ball visited her one last time. They spent an afternoon laughing and crying together. A final reunion between two women who had shared so much history. On August 17, 1979, Vivian Vance passed away at the age of 70. Before her death, she dictated letters exposing how Hollywood had treated her unfairly, and how often her dreams of directing or taking creative control were dismissed simply because she was a woman. Though she suffered much, Vivian left behind a legacy of resilience and unforgettable comedy. She proved that even through pain and struggle, she could bring joy to millions. One of the hardest battles Vivian faced in her career was being trapped by typecasting. Once she became known as Ethel Mertz, audiences and casting directors could not see her as anything else. On stage, she had once been glamorous, even playing leading ladies with powerful singing voices, but on ILoveLucy, she was purposely dressed down, made to look older, and written as the plain, sensible neighbor. This was essential for the comedy balance. Lucy was the dreamer, and Ethel was the realist. However, for Vivian as a performer, it was suffocating. She often felt her full talent was being wasted. There were many moments on set when she wanted to show her skills, perhaps with a serious dramatic role or a song, but she was always pushed back into the shadows. Even when her singing voice appeared in an episode, her co-star William Frawley made cruel jokes to minimize her performance. This constant belittling deeply hurt her, especially since she had worked so hard to earn respect in theater before television. Over time, Vivian began to feel invisible. Fans adored her, but they only knew her as Ethel, never as Vivian Vance, the woman with depth, skill, and ambition. She once told a friend, "Ethel was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me." That sentence captures the painful truth. The role gave her fame, money, and history-making success, but it also stole her freedom to be more. The success of ILoveLucy was built on perfect comedic timing and strong chemistry. But behind the laughter, the set was filled with tension. William Frawley's alcoholism often caused delays, and his bitter feud with Vivian sometimes made rehearsals unbearable. Lucille Ball, a perfectionist, demanded strict discipline, and Vivian had to match her energy, even on days when she was exhausted or emotionally drained. At times, Vivian questioned if she wanted to keep going, but she also knew walking away would mean losing everything she had worked for. Interestingly, despite their personal conflicts, Lucy and Vivian shared one of the most important female friendships on television. Their characters showed women supporting each other through schemes, laughter, and everyday struggles. Many fans wrote letters saying Ethel reminded them of their own best friend. In a way, Vivian gave audiences something they didn't even realize they were missing: an image of female friendship that was loyal, funny, and real. This cultural contribution is often overlooked, but incredibly significant. Without Ethel, Lucy's adventures would have lacked balance, and the show might not have reached such legendary heights. Fame came at a heavy price for Vivian. The long hours, constant public attention, and pressure to perform perfectly all took a toll on her mental and physical health. She suffered frequent anxiety, and at times, she experienced panic attacks before live tapings. The abusive marriage with Philip Ober only added to her stress. It is said that he often insulted her weight, her looks, and her talent, feeding into her insecurities. These cruel words stayed with her, even when she was celebrated by millions of fans. By the mid-1950s, Vivian began showing signs of depression, though at the time mental health was rarely discussed openly. She quietly sought therapy, one of the few safe spaces where she could admit how broken she felt inside. Unfortunately, in Hollywood during that era, therapy was seen as shameful, something that could ruin a career if discovered. This forced her to suffer in silence most of the time. Later, when she developed health issues, including strokes and eventually cancer, it was clear that decades of stress had weakened her body. Yet, she rarely complained. On set and in public appearances, she kept smiling, showing the world a strong face while carrying invisible wounds. Vivian's relationship with Lucille Ball has fascinated fans for decades. On screen, they were inseparable, the perfect comedic